Prime Minister, he's got to realise that words have consequences. So when I was racking around in my brain as to what I wanted to ask him during the Prime Minister's questions, originally my gut instinct was to try to major in on no-deal Brexit and the historic loss for the Prime Minister in terms of his very first vote. But then ultimately, because I thought other colleagues would be focusing in on that, I decided to go and speak about Islamophobia, and in particular I felt that those women who were being scapegoated by the Prime Minister and his incendiary comments were meant to harm them in order to harness that political capital for himself, because of the Conservative Party membership, which is becoming increasingly more and more right-wing, and I thought that is why that needed to be said. If that boosts his support amongst the right wing or the far right, so be it. But for me, what I've got to do is be true to myself and make sure that he is held to account. Just because somebody is powerful, just because they're the Prime Minister of the country, doesn't mean that they can just say anything and have a carte blanche of making derogatory and racist remarks. That's why I said it's about time that he apologised for his remarks about calling Muslim women bank robbers and letterboxes, and also he and his Chancellor promised on national television to hold an independent inquiry into Islamophobia within the Conservative Party, and it's about time that he came good on that promise. But his response, the Prime Minister's response, was pathetic, and I think that was highlighted by the leader of the Lib Dems, as well as you could see the general sense of feeling, the strength of feeling within the chamber. We don't need to know about his family tree. I don't need to know about how many relatives he's got of Muslim, and how he's of Muslim heritage, as well as how he's got relatives within the Sikh community. Just because I've got a white Polish or a white Scottish individual within my family, it doesn't mean that I can go and make racist remarks about Scottish people or Polish people. It's not about family tree. He needs to be making sure that he cannot be able to make any such comments. In terms of anti-Semitism, look, whether it's anti-Semitism, whether it's Islamophobia, whether it's making racist remarks against the Hindu community or the Sikh community or the Jewish community or any other community, that is abhorrent and that needs to be called out. Now, when there was an independent inquiry into anti-Semitism, that's exactly what should have been done. That is a problem that needed to be rooted out. Likewise, Islamophobia in certain political parties, whether that's the Conservative Party or UKIP, etc., they also need to be called out, and that is something that they need to eradicate. They can't just brush it under the carpet and have sham and whitewash investigations. Look, I thought that those women needed a voice, that they needed to see that there was somebody on their side. And because of my own personal experiences, when I was young at school, when somebody tried to pull off my turban, I know just the dent in your own self-confidence when somebody does that. How that affects your own being with other classmates, how it takes you a long time to get over that. And because of his incendiary comments, the Prime Minister's comments, that actually translated into a spike in hate crime. Actually, more women had to suffer, whereby individuals went along and tried to pull off somebody's burqa, somebody's hijab. So that is why those women need a voice, and I'm very, very proud to have been able to be that voice for them. And I'm hopeful. Look, whether it doesn't matter whether they're women, and just because they're women doesn't mean that a man can't speak up for them. Just because they're Muslim doesn't mean that only Muslim people should be sticking up. Just because I'm a Sikh doesn't mean only Sikh people should be sticking up. We need to show solidarity with others, because if we don't stand up for others, when it comes to our turn, nobody will be standing up for us. And India and Pakistan have got such great potential as nations, but I think what is happening at the moment in Jammu and Kashmir is extremely worrying. Many of my own Slough constituents who've got family out there in Jammu and Kashmir, because of the communications blackout, they don't know what is happening with their families, and the alleged human rights abuses to so many other things that are going on, the imprisonment of democratically elected leaders and other things. That needs to be called out, and we need to have transparency. We need to have international observers going in to try to see that there aren't any human rights abuses, that we need to ensure that we are speaking up for those Kashmiri people. I know many people within India, a lot of the opposition parties have done so. I'm also aware that a plane full of opposition party senior leaders went along to Jammu and Kashmir to try to see for themselves, but they were turned away. So it's good to see people in India speaking out about it as well. But that we need to make sure that human rights are central, because if one day it could be somebody else. When it's our turn, then what? Then we're going to be very, very thankful for those people that spoke up about human rights abuses. It is up to the British Prime Minister. That's why we've asked him. I've written to the Foreign Secretary as well, and so have many other people. The All-Party Parliamentary Group for Kashmir has also written. So it is up to the Prime Minister and Foreign Secretary to be speaking to their Indian counterparts and allaying our concerns by making statements and by having that dialogue. First of all, we need to make sure that we take off the table the catastrophic no-deal Brexit scenario. Once we've dealt with that, then we can talk about elections and everything else, and there will come a time, as you rightly said, we do not trust the Prime Minister. Alexander Boris Johnson is known within his own party and has been described by many of his own colleagues as a charlatan, as a liar. So I don't think many people within the opposition party will be trusting him. And we need to make sure that no-deal Brexit that this government is urging us towards, that we need to stop that.